Hey, hey, Rambo.
Hey, hey.
Mm. Good morning to you. Good morning to you. I've been up for a while.
Yeah, yeah. It's actually afternoon, but yeah,
That's true. That's true.
that's it. It
Afternoon for
was
you.
morning to me. It is.
Oh, that's true because you just woke up. So
Yeah.
we're flipped. We are flipped. It's so interesting. So I got up early this morning. I got up at 4 a.m. to see this super blood moon, total lunar eclipse. It's quite no matter what the moon is. I don't know. I think we talked about this. I think it's a projection. I think it's like a disc, a screen to be projected onto, and
Yeah.
it's a mirror of some sort. And we don't know. We don't. It's an ill-defined mirror. But even with that skepticism in mind, it's so cool to look at. You
It
know?
really is. And I
Yeah.
see it different all the time. I was actually last night, I was just looking at it, and we've talked about it before. Like, I can really see the map on there. I don't know whether that's because I'm looking for that, but that's what I
Okay.
kind of
For the
see.
new people, explain. This is in fact. I love this concept.
Like with a
Mhm.
map, when I look at the map they show us of Earth, it kind of looks like the pattern you see
Mhm.
on the moon. That's what I see. And there is,
Yeah, minus Russia, kind of
yeah,
minus. There's like something missing, and that
yeah, there
I've
is. Yeah,
always
it's
been trying
like
to figure out what that missing.
something's
Something's
missing.
missing. I think that missing piece is like the big nebulous landmass of Russia.
And there's
Anyway, but yeah.
also a theory that just one of those craters, or just one of the supposed craters we see, is our Earth, and the rest of what we see is parts of the just
Oh,
other,
other land
yeah, other land that we
that we just don't.
yeah we don't know exists.
Gosh, this connects. I love that you always bring up when we talk about air travel. You always talk about how no matter where you go, even if you have your own plane, there's really
You can't
only
go.
you can't go everywhere. There are all sorts of directions that you cannot point your craft.
Yeah, and that's what is it called, the FAA?
Yes, that's the
So they
FAA.
have that,
Yep.
because when I posted this a while back, people were like, "Well, I'll just get my old boat and go," but you can't because they have a
You
coast
really
guard.
can't.
That's
And you're literally in a wave pool. It's always sending you back to shore.
yeah.
Like it's, I don't quite know how to explain the circumnavigation conundrum, but there is something about going out to sea that I think is advanced trickery. And the way that we get from point A to point B is warped. Our idea of how we get to between 2 points is warped by by all the stuff that they give us to navigate with, by the maps themselves. I think are misinterpretations. I think coordinates. Coordinates are so interesting because it really, like the GPS coordinates. It's all based on like a grid system.
Yeah, and it kind of takes you a
That's
long
what
way
we're.
around. They do it with flight paths. They do it with ship paths, and they also
Yes,
do it with
yes,
motorways. You just going route. They call it
right.
in the UK the ring road.
Mhm.
Like, so you
Mm,
just
mm. Literally encircles the city. We have
yeah,
that. We have one of those in nearly every single
yeah, same.
major metropolitan city in the United States. There's always a ring around the city, encircling these big cities. It's almost, I don't know. It's almost like
Like
creating.
lemmings.
We're like our energetic like energetic barriers. Like we're creating our own in like a, when you think about an encircling as like a barrier, and these energetic barriers are encircling our city and that we have to travel upon. I don't know something about it, but you're right. I'm getting off on a weird tangent with that. But to your point, you're right that whether it's the air travel, when you look at the way that the plane goes from like point A to point B with these long international flights, you're like, why do they go that way? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why don't they just
I
fly
feel we're a whole lot
directly there?
closer than we think we are. That's what I
Yeah.
think. I think we are. I think we're
Oh, you
a lot
said
closer.
extraterrestrial. I love
And
that.
yeah, they talk about that with they always say they go in the sea, don't they? This is what the
Mm.
do you remember that guy, that
Oh,
pilot who was on
aliens.
the
Aliens. Yeah, aliens in the sea.
on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
Joe Rogan podcast, that guy, the pilot, and he was like this
Uh-huh.
Navy pilot or something, and he's seen this, what did they call it? The tic tac.
The Tic Tac. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was on the radar screen. He saw it on his screen. He didn't see it with his eyes. He saw it with his on his screen, on the screen that they used to see beyond. And sure, yeah, you saw something. You saw a graphic on your screen. Doesn't mean it actually
Yeah,
was
that's yeah.
there.
A tic tac, yeah.
You saw a little blob on your screen. I love that Joe Rogan uses that example as like biblical set. It's like this is set in stone. This individual saw a tic tac on his screen. He wouldn't lie. And it's like, well, he's not lying. he did see a tic tac on his screen. We're using the wrong verbiage, but it was some sort of, unaccounted for. Like the velocity was just unlike anything that we could ever see. Look this up. Yeah, it was some sort of military pilot, and he saw this.
But it's one of them though. Is he even that? Because I always think like without Joe Rogan, a lot of these things wouldn't get out there. These people.
Well, I think he's a way to propagate the false narrative, because it is, in a way, it is true. In a way, it is true that this military pilot, could very well have seen a little thing blip across his screen, unexplainable, but that was fed to him. That experience was given to him, and and whatever designers fed this experience to this pilot that has a sterling record, he's going to go out there and say, hey, I saw this thing that I can't explain. I'm a military pilot, and I saw this thing that looks like UFO. We don't have this technology. I saw it. I'm reporting it. Joe Rogan, here I am. And Joe Rogan's going to go, this man is a military hero. He's going to go to bat for this individual, because everything is true, but it's still false. I don't know how to explain, because the guy believes it's true. He's not lying. And Joe Rogan is just sharing this story of this individual not lying. In a way, karma, it's like those karmic absolutions or whatever, but ultimately the underpinnings are completely non-existent. The underpinning is entirely false, but within a certain lens, it's true. Projection in a certain vantage point, a certain projection, it's true.
Because without that, with talk about this, I was having a conversation about what I think Joe Rogan does, and I think I wouldn't have knew who Elon Musk was before he went on Joe Rogan. Didn't know who it was.
Right.
Jack Dorsey, didn't know who that was. I know it was, but then he went on Joe Rogan and I knew who he was then.
Right.
They bring these characters on through that. So and Kanye is interviewed Kanye.
Oh yeah.
And what they always do with him is they watch him shut Eddie Bravo down about flat Earth, don't they? To make that seem.
Same with Sam Tripoli. Tripoli, before Eddie Bravo's most recent appearance, Sam Tripoli was on before, just a few weeks before, I think, and he shut down everything they said. I think
that's purposely done, though.
Totally. But it's sometimes Joe Rogan goes a little woo-woo and kind of lets the truth out, but it's like, and he brings it up almost like playing devil's advocate sometimes. Like if he's with someone who's like anti-exploration of even simulation theory or whatever, like sometimes Joe Rogan will like be the one to like push the ideation, which I find interesting, because I'm like, oh, he's going there. Oh, Joe Rogan, he's going there. And then other times, inexplicably so, when it seems to be the perfect opportunity and the perfect platform to do exactly this type of exploration, like with Eddie Bravo, like with Sam Tripoli, let these individuals, give them the floor to give their best argument. Not even argument, discussion points, like talking points, like talk through this.
Do you believe he's sat there before and interviewed nobody?
Yes.
I do.
I
believe he's interviewed a computer screen or something. But so
there's real ones, I believe.
Yeah,
there
the
are
real
real
ones
interviews.
go on, and he mixed in between.
Yep.
And I believe so. Like with the Jack Dorsey guy, he appeared twice on there. And he wore the same outfit, same hat, twice. Like this, and the excuse for that was, well, that's what rich people do.
Right. Oh my God, Rambo. Steve Jobs wore the same. It's characters wear costumes. Characters wear costumes.
We just uploaded the same one again, I think.
Right. Right. What is it about being in a notable position?
Well, even had the same cap, the same.
Yes, which is
cap.
Right. There were times when they did that with Zuckerberg, like he was wearing literally the exact same outfit through multiple years. And again, it's easy to say, it's like, well, we told you he was the hoodie guy, so are you so surprised that he's wearing the same hoodie?
Like Bill Gates, just those plain jumpers and stuff.
Just always that purple sweater with a little thing underneath.
And you say, well, that's what rich people do, but maybe that is the trend, what they have set.
Yeah,
it's the poorer people that wear the names of stuff.
Right. Rich people don't get caught in labels.
No.
Unless they are, Okay, here's the because I'm thinking, oh, the Kardashians, they're always dripping in labels and designer this and everybody using designer stuff. That is the projection. That is what's
That's
trying to
aimed at
sell
us.
you. That's
That's
aimed at
aimed
us. Yeah,
for us.
that's
Yeah,
a
that
billboard.
is.
That's just a billboard. The real rich people who are truly wealthy, don't flaunt it. Like they don't flaunt it in the way that's publicly seen and aspired towards. It's done much more. I don't know, like really, really rich. The richest person in the room, sometimes you would never imagine. It's usually the guy who looks the most plain, wearing old Nikes and Levi's and a button-down shirt or whatever, just like an old cowboy. Sometimes looking like I don't know. It's you'd never know. But yeah, there is the whole wealth projection. Projections.
Projection. Well, that's
The
where
moon.
we've gone from the moon. Yeah, I was about to say
The
we've gone from the
moon.
moon to projections of people to projections of fashion. But it's true. That's what everything is, a reflection, isn't it? That is it. We are a reflection of what was shown. And that is where I think the simulation is that the simulation is like created and we make it happen. Do you know what I mean? We're living in the false light. We're reflecting it back.
False light world. Okay. They tell us that the moon reflects the sun. The moon reflects the sun. How does the moon glow? The moon looks particularly glowy today. How does the moon glow? Or like, how is the moon? Anyway, the whole mechanics of the moon is explained by, it's just reflecting sunlight. The moon's just a dusty old rock. It doesn't have its own glow. There's all these like explanations. It reflects the sunlight. Okay, we got it. The story is it reflects sunlight. If sunlight is false light, then that makes the moon a mirror projection of false light. It's like funhouse mirrors. We're literally living in this like funhouse mirror. And they tell us right out the gate. They tell us that the moon's reflecting the sun.
It does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it? And another thing, this is just a little bit of a crazy one. Well, there's nothing too crazy, but like, for
Lay it on me, Rambo.
We're not in a dome where that sky we see is just open into infinity. So why would the sky reflect on water? This is another, do you know what I mean? So we're seeing a blue sky reflect on water, but should it be reflecting if it's not covered? It's just open. It's just an open.
Here's something interesting. I don't know how this fits.
Infinite space above us.
Excellent question.
Does it reflect?
I do wonder. Okay, so one interesting thing that I have recognized and realized when I'm swimming, and something I remembered as a kid, but like when you're underwater and you're kind of like your stomach, your belly is up, so you're looking up at the sky, but from underwater. You're not looking down at the bottom of the pool, you're looking up. When you get very, very close to the surface of the water, it becomes a perfect mirror. And you don't see through the water anymore. You no longer see what's on the other side of the water. Like you can when you're down a little bit farther. Once you get to a certain distance, very close to the surface, that surface tension of the water from below, it becomes a mirror. It shifts like instantaneously and becomes a perfect mirror of you, and you see yourself coming up. And I've tested it many times. It seems to be consistent. And also the water.
Sure you breathe out your nose as you do, because otherwise.
Well, then if you do the bubbles, true. I don't know if I'm like entering into a new dimension though. Oh, that's kind of weird. I do kind of think about that.
I do. That's what I was just about to bring up, like dimensions. Do you believe? I believe there is other dimensions.
Oh yeah.
Around us. I've been watching a lot on this recently, like just about just different theories. I like to hear different kind of theories, and some believe that in the sea. That's where you can cross a dimension, and do these like, let's say for instance, as an example, Kobe Bryant, like that. This is the video I was watching. Has he crossed to another dimension? Is going to live another life now? Like, I don't believe so, but because I believe in the actor-based reality. But I'm open to it.
Like, are they just retiring in a distant land
and going into a new?
Yeah, back to our conversation about getting in the airplanes. Like, you can't go maybe there's distant land beyond what we are allowed to go on our little flight paths.
Well, have you seen that Stephen King movie? This is a movie I watched when I was a young kid, and I believe in the truth in movie side. It's called The Langoliers. Have you ever heard of it?
Langoliers. I have heard of it. Yeah.
The plane goes through a black hole, and it goes in a mirrored world, exactly the same as a.
And that one
But
was like a made-for-TV movie, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember seeing it on
and it
TV.
was like these Pac-Man kind of things that were there. Yeah.
Yes, yes. That was such a strange. Stephen King, he's a real strange individual. And it's like, yeah, just these like teeth coming out
Very
of the
masky.
sky. Very,
Very
oh yeah,
masky.
yeah. Oh yeah, Stephen King as a character himself, yes, he is a very masky looking person. He's like, show me one picture of Stephen King where he looks like a normal human being. Show me one. You
There
know?
isn't.
Oh wait, there's none. There's
And
zero.
he spells his name with the P, doesn't he? Like Steve.
PH. Stephen.
Yes. Because that in numerology makes 33.
Oh, of course it does.
Stephen, like
And then the
that's
king,
why I think
there's something to that.
Stephen
with the
Hawking's
king.
the same thing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Stephen. And that's 33. So if you do all the letter and just the Stephen, yeah, that's interesting. Stephen. My mom, she was obsessed. She was a big reader and she loved Stephen King. She loved all those horror. And I remember reading some of his books, but one that stood out was a collection of short stories. And there was one where frogs were falling from the sky. And then it just really stuck with me. I need to revisit that. Maybe I'll do a little book club on Stephen King, his like short stories at least, because his books are really way too long. But anyway, so later in life, I watched the movie Magnolia, which is an excellent movie directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and it has a scene, and it's with Tom Cruise, and there's a scene where the frogs fall from the sky. It's pretty interesting. Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's just like that Stephen King novel. And I wondered if that was an inspiration for it. Oh, and Magnolia, the
biblical
soundtrack
thing though, isn't it? That
it's
the
very
frogs.
biblical. Yeah, frogs, and then the locusts are coming. There's all
Yeah.
these like little biblical things. Well, I mean, and also, okay, speaking of biblical, with the Red Sea, the parting of the Red Sea, is like a biblical parable. They actually like the Red Sea's part. Anyway, Red Sea. On Twitter today, I'm seeing red wave. I'm seeing that
That's because
everywhere.
today is the midterm
Yes, here in the United
elections,
States,
which
it's
is
election
also
day. Yep.
the blood moon day.
I
Isn't it?
know.
And it actually, I just
I know.
seen an article and it says election day blood moon won't happen again until the year 2394. I want to know how they know this. Like,
Ooh, yeah. It's too perfect. It's too
they call
perfect
it
to be real.
the beaver blood moon, aren't they? The beaver blood moon.
The beaver blood moon. I haven't seen that.
Yes. What is weird is, again, I just like to check the numerology, and beaver equals 8. Like, and it's the 8th. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
yeah, beaver blood moon. It's coming up here for me.
The namings of the moon have been really interesting. It feels like we've had more moon events since 2020 than ever before in my entire lifetime. We have like a full moon, blood moon, strawberry moon, wolf moon.
Eclipses
We've
everywhere.
got
We
phenomena.
had a solar eclipse last time we was on, I
happening.
think, as well.
Right. Jesus, like slow down. Something is up with the machine. Like I don't remember being a kid and every other weekend being some sort of lunar event or solar extravaganza. And it's like, and the news always tells us, like every single news outlet never lets it slip that
Then we
there's
got
some
the
sort of
death
moon.
on the blood moon, didn't we? Which
Oh my God.
You've just posted on.
Yep. Okay. Yes. That was unexpected. That was a little unexpected twist. So yeah, I got up this morning totally focused on this blood moon and I was taking pictures of it. Photographing the moon is very difficult. It's a very difficult endeavor because there's so many ways that the settings can go wrong and you have to be perfectly still, which I am not. I could never be a surgeon. I do not have a steady hand. I never have. And I didn't feel like pulling out my tripod and I was like, let me just wing it. And so I was trying to take photographs of the moon and then do a whole little thing on that. So I woke up like, 4 a.m, focused on the moon, focused on this red moon, blood moon. And I went on this whole little Instagram tear on, stories about what the moon is and red moon and making all these connections. And I was just doing the thing that I usually do where like all of a sudden I'm in this like inspiration vortex and I'm finding all of these connections and sharing them in real time. And then I see that Mr. Rothschild has died. Like the Rothschild, the quintessential Evelyn, which sounds like 11.
He's got a long name, man. Evelyn,
Francis. Ooh, I didn't know about the Francis, but that's like Frank, Anne Frank. Evelyn de Rothschild. And Rothschild means red sign.
Evelyn, Robert, Adrian, de Rothschild.
Evelyn Robert Adrian de Rothschild has passed at 91, and he's a big time British financier. I don't think he actually existed.
Yeah, I don't even. We're looking at the pictures.
Yes, Rambo was sending me pictures this morning of him and Prince Charles.
So he's like prodding Charles in the chest, like, and I see like a caption on one. This is just on Google, and it said, "We can see who the boss is here."
Yeah,
That's
right.
what I feel. The guy behind the curtain, we do not know the name.
All
I don't believe
front.
so.
It's all a storefront. It's all straw man storefront.
Layers, because then you get all
layers on layers on layers on layers on layers.
The secret societies, all the ones who's higher than who.
Exactly.
Like
exactly. In the name Rothschild means red sign. Like I said, it's like people have said it means red shield. It sounds a lot like red shield, but when you really break it down, the etymology, it's German, and actually Rothschild translates to with the red sign, and Mr. Evelyn de Rothschild, he dies with the red sign, with a globally projected blood red moon, a big red circle in the sky that everybody on the planet got to see. And his name means with the red sign, and he died with the red sign. You gotta be shitting me. You have got to quote my father. That's what he would say when something was just so unbelievable. You gotta be shitting me. They're fucking with us, Rambo.
They are, and he died 61 days after the Queen. Because I only found out just as you told me, because I just did this morning.
Wait, okay, say that again. Okay, 61 days, and you said 91 days
and
after
he's
something
91.
else?
So we know what we say about the 9.
Ooh, 91
and it's also the 8.
And then 11, 9/11, and his name sounds like 11.
Yeah, she died on the 8th, and these died on the 8th. Oh. And he's a financial advisor.
Checks out. Okay, they're not fucking with us. Pardon my French, guys. I get a little heated sometimes. They're not fucking with us. They're gently showing us.
It feels like to me.
Not really gently. It's like blunt force. It's blunt force revelations. They're really not hiding it. They're not hiding it. There's no subtlety, which I think is what we need right now. Oh my God. Okay. We talked about this being the time when the veil is the thinnest. The distinction between two worlds, the Halloween being the time when that kind of like intermodal, that subliminal, liminal space, the between space, when we are in like a slip space between worlds, capable of escaping one and entering another. And I think that all of this right now, the fact it's just so beautifully blunt. I think that the veil is really thin right now, and we're able to see it. Like the illusion is very thin right now. The barrier between the two worlds being those who can't see and those who can.
And there is more and more people able to see these things now. I feel I don't believe everyone is supposed to see, because I believe there is the NPC thing, and that's why they made it so big. Like even my kid knows what an NPC is now. Like,
oh, okay.
He also says to me, so I've got an older lad who also said to me, like, how do we know all these people are not just NPCs? He said that in the car. I was like, break on, like, what did he say? But he doesn't know how
was this recently? Was this
but he doesn't know how I think. I don't have these discussions. I kind of dig him. I don't actually tell him anything because I don't want to like.
What did you say?
He said that to me. And I said, how do we know? Like, how do we know?
We don't.
And I asked him about, I went onto the panda thing with him. And he's like 13, so he's like,
put the handbrake on, reverse, screw, pandas.
Yeah. And it's just interesting. I've never spoke to him about this. And he said that while we were just driving around a car park and we couldn't get a space. And he was just like, all these NPCs. I'm like, what? Like, how do we know these are not NPCs? But I didn't know that he knew what that was. But he said he learned it from a computer game.
Wow. Wow.
And that's where the term kind of comes from, the NPCs.
The kids are all right. The kids are all right. We may be the end of the line for like humanity, but that's fine. We got there. Whatever we needed to do, we got there. Guys, we did it. We did it. You know? Kids are awake. Kids are online in a way that I think
they're more
is
awake.
Normal and natural.
Yeah.
In a way that previous generations could never have dreamed of, could never have even imagined.
And he kind of reminds me a bit like I get the calls from the school to say he doesn't listen to anything and stuff, like he's not taking anything in.
Yeah.
And that was me. I got that as well. You know, he's subconsciously rejecting the programming. Do you know, like that's how it kind of feels to me. Like I'm not, but I get the calls. He doesn't listen to anything and he's kind of zoned out. And that was me.
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. We took different paths, but had the same underlying notion. I felt it too, but I felt that through the more I could learn, maybe the more I could get to the bottom of it. You know, I wasn't ready to go, this stuff needs to be abandoned. Oh, this ship we need to, jump off ship and burn it down. You know, I was trying to really carve my way out from the inside. And I like that I was so fascinated with words and so fascinated with things, trivia and things that ultimately don't matter. But it does allow me to connect some dots. It allows me to be like, oh, that thing, bing, 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 and I'm off to the races. And I'm grateful that I'm grateful for the being in the illusion. We've said this many times. You've got to be in the illusion to really
realize. Like you got to be in the box to realize you've got out the box kind of thing. That's how I kind of.
You got to be in the audience of the magician's show, and first be fooled by the trick, to then appreciate the trick for what it is and how it works once you are on the other side of it. You know,
and people believe, I get a lot of this to me from friends, like, what does it mean for your life? What does it matter though what if you're right and it is all actors, I get that question, like, why does it even matter? What does it change for your life? I'm like, it's not about, it changes my soul. It doesn't change my life. I still have to play along with the illusion. You still have to go to work. You still have to speak to people who have only got what they've seen on TV to speak about, you know?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the conversations you have, when I think sometimes it's just work and what you've seen on TV and sports, like that's it. If that didn't happen, what would you talk about? And that is it. What I've got in my notes now is silence. Where do you find it? Like I'm on a hunt for silence and I can't find it. It's like you can shut yourself in a room. It is impossible because there's something running through your mind. Like we've talked to the songs. Something is running in your mind. Where do you get silence of the mind? It's hard to find.
It's fundamental. It's absolutely fundamental. And yet it's nearly impossible to conjure, to experience or conjure. Because even if you are able to get yourself to a physical place of silence, whether it's let's just say a soundproof room. Like, let's say you're really going for it and you get yourself to the most soundproof room you could ever engineer. Literally no sound, a complete vacuum. Well, you still have an entire universe of noise in your mind. And that one is...
The mind's a noisy place.
Even more difficult to engineer your way out of, that noise. That's the one you need to worry about. That's the one you need to worry about. That's the one you need to focus on. Quieting of the mind. We can't always be in control of the space. We can't always quiet the space around us, but we can do a lot to put into practice quieting of the mind, regardless of audio inputs, regardless of any input, sensory inputs. Learn how to quiet the mind. Learn how to still the mind. You're right, Rambo. We're on a hunt. It's
I've
impossible
been
to
searching,
find.
and it is. And like
Yeah.
you say, I've tried everything. You can meditate. You can just try, and there's always something there in
Yeah.
the background. There
Yeah.
is. I feel there is for me. I don't know whether I've got a busy mind. I don't know, but I feel like everyone's kind of the same. That's why with the music and stuff, it's the frequencies are there to stay. These
Oh, I'm so glad you
repetitive
brought this
songs,
up. Yeah,
and
oh
we're coming
man.
into that season. Do you know what made me
Yeah.
actually think about it? I seen on Twitter, Mariah Carey had posted, "It's the time for the song." Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I just
November
thought, there it
1st.
is. They're
Yep.
telling us now we're going into that loop time. Like, everything's a loop, but like the Christmas time, like it's the same as when I was a little kid. The same songs, and this every year, the same. Everyone's rushing about. All the shops are dead
Yep.
busy. Traffic's worse.
Yep.
Everyone's buying everything. Everyone's doing all to get for the Christmas kind of feeling. And I just don't.
Oh,
Me, it's like
man.
Groundhog Day.
Yes, eternal loop. I like to say it, once we get to spooky season, it's a Santa sleigh ride right through Thanksgiving to Christmas. And you don't even blink an eye. It just seems to happen. Then all of a sudden you're at New Year's and you're like, whoa. And then it's a point of recovery. And then January, you kind of,
New year, new me.
yeah.
The same
Every
thing
year,
every year.
every year.
All
You
the
know,
gyms go busier. Everyone's doing
yes,
the
so
same thing.
predictable, so predictable, such a loop. And I'm so glad you brought up the Mariah Carey Christmas song, because this is something that you have focused on pretty acutely for a long time, and that is the programming that we are receiving through our ears, through these popular songs. There is some embeddable information. There's like this imprinting that's happening when you take in these catchy hooks, these, what do you think? What do you think
They
about this?
always have a thing. Have you noticed they always have the Christmas number one? And it always seems to be a song that they say has been voted, like
Right.
brought up by internet. There was one a couple of years, I can't think what it's called, something in the Machine. Rage Against the Machine was and so they're bringing these songs back from the past to be Christmas number one again, and it's just keeping everybody
There's
in. Like, will there ever be a new Christmas song in our lives? Yeah, there's new ones every year, but none of them stick. Only the originals stick, don't they?
If we're opening submissions for Christmas songs to blow up from the past, I highly recommend Hanson's Christmas album. I believe it's called Snowed In. I will die on this cross. I will die on this hill. I loved that album. It's the best Christmas album around. Those little girls
Hanson,
singing
was
their
that?
hearts out.
I remember the name, but
Yes, it was a boy band. But
with
they
those
looked
little
like
blonde
girls.
kids, was
Yes,
it? Yeah, yeah.
yes. And I had their posters on my wall, and my dad would come into my room and he'd ask about it. He's like, "Why do you have all those posters of the girls on your wall?" He was an early transvestigation pioneer. And he's right. I look back at pictures and I was like, "Dad, shut up. I love them. They're my favorite. They're boys. Of course they're boys." And I look back at the pictures now and I'm like, "Oh my God."
They may have been right.
Yeah, but I loved that Christmas album. And I went on a cruise a few years ago, not that many years ago, but a few years ago, long enough for the album to be very old at this point. But it was a cruise around Christmas time, and there was a set Christmas album on loop for the entire 5 days. And so you don't notice it. You don't notice it until you notice it. And then once you notice it, you cannot not know. I mean, just like once you see, you cannot see. But once you realize that all of these songs that you're hearing, these old Christmas favorites, are on I would say it was a 1 hour and 13-minute loop, if I had to guess, because it was over an hour, but it wasn't an hour and a half. And anyway, so you would hear these, not that many songs, just played on repeat in all the public spaces, and it became maddening. I don't think anybody else really noticed it, but one of those songs was from the Hanson Christmas album. And that was the only time my ears perked up in a happy way. I was like, yes.
Does they kind of remind you of the year before and the year before?
Yeah.
So STEM Christmas songs, they take you back. I feel like they can take you back, and that's kind of what makes you then go by, because you want to improve on last Christmas. Kind of that's
a hypnotization, would you
yeah,
say?
it feels like hypnotized. Yeah, that's how I feel like we're all being hypnotized by these Christmas songs and it's more of a reminder of last year, and you're like, oh, last year I didn't do this year, I'm gonna do it, and it's you're just doing the same stuff with adding more and more and more. And that's why I think Christmas becoming more and more expensive. Like,
oh God, yes.
There's no satisfying
Right.
like what a kid wants for Christmas anymore. There's no
right.
end.
There's no end. It's like you're throwing money into a coal fire. You know, it's getting more expensive financially. You hit the nail on the head, especially with inflation right now. There's no question that this is going to be a squeeze, and gas prices are probably going to go up to coincide with travel to Thanksgiving and Christmas and all this. It's just a squeeze in every direction. Also, the price, the true price is not what we pay on our credit cards or out of our wallets or whatever. It's the amount of energy we are expending as individuals, our loosh, our loosh capital. This is a great time of harvest when it comes to our
Yeah, and we've
personal
got Black
energy.
Friday coming up where
Oh boy,
everybody's,
that's like a black vortex of our
Yeah.
energy. Literally, they're telling us.
and they're telling you like, oh, everything's discounted, but really it's not.
It's not. It's not. And it's not worth even if it is discounted by X percent, that X percent is certainly not worth your energy and attention if it takes from you. Okay, I'm going to say this. Some people love it, truly love it. Wind in their sails. You know what? You do you. You do
And
you.
without this show,
But if
it's
you're
the
like
same
dreading
thing.
something, don't do it. Don't do anything that you're dreading. If you have a feeling of dread, you're not
Don't
supposed
do
to
it, that's
You're
it.
literally not supposed to do that thing. Whatever it is, I don't care what it is. You're not supposed to do it. If something gives you a deep sensation, an undeniable sensation of dread in your preparation for the thing, don't do it. Just don't do it.
And this is the year, like at Christmas, this is the time as well. We all collectively lie.
Ooh, Santa!
Yeah. We all lie as a
The
collective
original
to
conspiracy.
the next generation. We lie
Yep.
to the next generation that is coming up. I couldn't like go up to my kid and say, yeah, Santa's not real. It's programmed in me that I can't actually do that to my kid. Do you know, like,
Right.
because he wants to believe, like,
It's
and
against
all
the
the other
rules.
kids in school are believing it. But you always had that kid in school, like, that was like, Santa's not real. Like,
Little rebel. Yeah,
Yeah.
little soothsayer rebel. That was when I went on Sam Tripoli, my first podcast. He asked me, like, almost right out of the gate, he asked me what my favorite conspiracy was. And I told him Santa. It's the first, and it plants the seed. It's the seed planter. It plants a seed on the familial level, which is how we learn everything. We learn everything, all of our ritualistic behaviors, all of our understandings and notions about life and society and language and really the building blocks of everything. We get that through our family or through our unit that we are raised with. And when we learn within that unit that the lying as ritualistic positive behavior is accepted, like that just becomes rooted as a norm. You know, we become, because even once you realize that Santa's not real, you uphold that as a good citizen, as a show of good citizenry. You uphold the lie.
yeah. Instead of
so
going, that's a lie. I've been
twisted.
lied
It's
to for
so
like the
twisted.
first 10 years of my life.
It's beyond twisted. And now at the mall, when you see all those kids and their families lined up for Santa, to me it's much more sinister. I'm like, oh, here they go, into the lie factory, you know, straight into the belly of the beast.
And even it go from the man in the red, the reindeers flying, and even the North Pole,
and
that's not even a real place.
I know, North Pole's not even a real place. And he's like
Fly all
breaking
the
into
way
our
down.
houses, shimmying down our chimneys, like breaking and entering. What a creep. What a creep. Ugh. In my book, Santa's canceled. I've been trying to cancel Christmas for quite some time. I am the self-appointed Grinch because I'm always telling my family no more Christmas. If you want to gather, great, let's get together.
What it
But
always
let's
taught me,
not pour our beings into it, you know?
with Christmas, that's where I kind of learned like material goods didn't really satisfy me,
Right.
like what I wanted. Like, so I'd wait all year round for this game or whatever it may be, and I'd get it, and I'd be like,
Just
it's like
like
a
inflated balloon.
yeah, like, and I've got it, and then that's it. Is that it? I'll play 10 minutes.
that
I can be
all?
like, feel like I'm missing something else, but like I feel like that repetitive thing every year, because it happened to me every year. I'd get what I
Yeah.
wanted, and then when I got it, it's like, is that it? Like,
Emptiness, like an
yeah,
emptiness.
so it got to show me that the material world wasn't what made me happy. Like
It didn't fulfill you.
yeah, it
Even the
didn't
things that
fulfill
we're
me. Yeah, it
told.
didn't.
Yes, Rambo.
And I couldn't sleep at night waiting for this.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah, that loss of sleep. Oh my gosh, really? What an energy harvest! All these
That's it, I
little
just
kids,
wake up.
wide awake, wired all night, can't
We
sleep.
used to
They
like
ate
get
the
up at
cookies too, and it's
12:01
like,
us and go downstairs. And
Ah.
like,
I remember. I remember waiting awake at night, listening for Santa. Then, I
I
always fell
heard it. I
asleep.
used to hear bells on my roof and everything, and that is where my mum had told me,
Wow.
like, it goes on the
What a
roof. And
soldier. She's
I
a
think that,
soldier for deception.
yeah, yeah. And I remember the time when I came downstairs and I found her and my dad, like, putting all this,
And it's
putting
always
all the
like, we're
presents
just
out and
helping
stuff. And I
Santa
was like,
out.
but where's, and then after that each year, then, because I'm the oldest, I had to then lie to my younger, I used to help put the presents out then.
Oh
And the
my
younger brothers didn't know
God.
I was in on it, you know?
Quick, Rambo, grab some presents. Help us. Don't tell your brothers.
Yeah, that's how it was. So I walked down one day and I seen him putting the presents out, and that was the end of
Oh.
Santa for me. You know?
In a way, I also have a non-traditional Santa upbringing, and I'm very thankful for it because wherever I lived, there was a different Santa. I lived in Holland, and then I lived in Jakarta, and I don't remember. I was born in the United States, but I wasn't there long enough to remember it. Having different Santas everywhere you go, also having different religions everywhere you go, I kind of came into this early understanding that these things were conceptual. I began to, at a kid, respect and recognize without anybody telling me kind of what adults already know, quote unquote, I'm putting no in air quotes, that Santa was this historical guy, Saint Nick. And there's this whole fable and story about like the real guy that it was. Guys, this is all fiction. This is all fiction. There is no jolly old Saint Nick that jolly old Saint Nick is based off of. So even as adults, we still have to believe in a lie that like, well, there's no real Santa.
And then the movies
There's
as
a
well is
Santa
part
based
of it
on.
again. So every Christmas Eve we would watch the original Santa Claus movie every year.
Is that the one with Tim
And
Allen?
yeah, so every year we do the same thing, and it still goes on now. You know,
Ooh, when he transforms into Santa with that CGI face, and it's not prosthetics, it's like a really incredible CGI warp. Like exactly what you focus on now, and that's your favorite movie. Oh my God.
every year we used to watch that. And I even done the same for a while with my kids. I'm trying to break the cycle now.
Yeah.
Like, it's that
Yeah.
you feel bad. You don't. I feel like I can't tell. You can't tell your kids that. You kind of is that programmed into me that I can't say. All right, listen. This is all fake. North Pole's fake. Santa's fake. This is a loop we're being put in. I can't tell a young. You have to kind of go along with it.
Yeah.
So that is where
you
we're
got to
all
come to that on your own.
collectively
You
in
got to
on the
come to
lie.
that by your own.
We feel guilty that we've got to be in on the lie.
You're
We're like
right.
guilted
You're
into
right.
it.
We are more worried about potentially sharing like an innate concepts and innate understandings and things that bubble up within us, and knowledge that seems to like spring forth from within us that kind of feels right. We're actually afraid to share that. Instead, because we actually, even as awake and aware as we are still so programmed in that we're like, nope, the lie's better. The lie is better. That is safer. That's what we'll do. And we're pushing forward.
One
But
of
I
them,
get
though,
it.
you have to
But
look at it. They have to
you can't do
discover
that.
it themselves.
You do. You really do. You really do. I have to remember what I said just a bit earlier. The most important part is to be in the illusion.
I remember having
Ultimately,
the
like for us,
cognitive
for me.
dissonance about Santa with people who used to tell me it wasn't real. I'd be like, I'd argue my point in school. I remember it. Like, I remember somebody telling me, and I remember arguing it. And it's only like some of the stuff we say now, or like, and people argue it out. That it's kind of triggers something in you to defend it.
Were they older, like
defending the
slightly
lie.
older, like slightly older kids in the school? It's always on the playground that you find out that Santa's not real. Always.
Yeah, and like it was more like I had a lad who was my age. He's the one who told me, and I remember I still speak to him now, but I remember arguing the point that like, no, it's not. It's like it's definitely not. Like, you know, I argued it and argued it and I'd argue it.
I would
every
love
year.
to hear a little bonus episode of you and him catching up as adults and you talking about this story and this awakening. And this was like a beginning of your
If you're
cognitive
on the corner, I'll have to ask him. He'll
You
literally on the
should.
corner.
You should. I would love that. That would be so perfectly random. I love it. But also, I love that you brought up, speaking of perfectly random, I just feel like this place is so magical because you brought up specifically, talked about my Mariah Carey. It's that time of year. Jitka asked in the listener queue on Discord, she asked today, she said, can you explore how sound and rhythm is being used to manipulate the masses? Knock knock, Mariah Carey, it's time for Christmas programming.
Every year. And there's a
Get us in
few
the
other
year.
songs that go with Mariah Carey, isn't there? I can't think of them at the minute, but I'm sure I'll hear them in a couple of days. Like,
yes, she's well employed this time of
but
year.
she's the main one, and I think it's more of a reminder of last year. It kind of like I've talked on, you've talked about how music could be time travel. Like
Mm,
it takes someone back to somewhere every time. You know,
yeah.
every song means something to someone else. You know, the original songs that seem to never go away.
Yeah. There's something melodically transmutational almost about them. Like you can be transported into an entirely different world just by hearing a melody. They say that individuals with memory loss and dementia and Alzheimer's, that they can be quickly brought back to a time and place that is within capture within their memory, which is a totally different conversation, y'all. Like memory is all okay, so know that I'm speaking that we may blow all this up when we just talk about memory itself. But they say that people with these types of memory failures, or maybe it's not a memory failure at all, maybe it's just our system failing, but the memory failure, that music can bring them back. Music. And Jitka also said, she was talking about how certain pop music has, certain sounds and rhythms. She mentioned Lady Gaga's, excuse me, Lady Gaga's Bad Romance in the chord Rama Mama or Rama Mama or whatever. You don't want me singing that. She said that's basically a mantra. And she said, do you believe that certain rhythms can hypnotize us or can hypnotize the
That's what we're
masses?
just talking about.
I know. We just talked about that. I love that things. And she said,
it's like with the Christmas song, that takes you back to Christmas. No matter what it takes you to Christmas every time. Mariah Carey song will always take you to Christmas, regardless of what memories attached to it. It's always Christmas time when that happened, like.
Yes. Take a certain time and place immediately. We are transported just by hearing that song. We are literally transported into a mall, into a shopping mall, just by hearing All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's such a specific, it's a holiday. It's the holiday in a sound wave. It's, it's crazy, and she said not to hypnotize, to a place of total unconsciousness, which we don't want to confuse anybody to think that this is the level of hypnotization that we're talking about. But she's right, because it's more of, she says, putting a lock on people's consciousness at a certain level, lowering the vibration, lowering the collective vibe, in kind of being able to communicate to us through this lowered vibration state. I think so. And in that lowered vibration state, maybe we're more susceptible to all of these, and more susceptible to energetic, harvesting, for lack of a better term, which this season does seem to be all about.
It kind of starts from now, doesn't it? From when I seen that post, that's when I started with like, where do I get silence from this crap? Like, this is the time now when my mind will be, because you can't even sit in your car unless. And even then, you're not in silence, but you sit in your car, turn your radio off, because
right.
Otherwise, it's just that on every single station is. And they have a thing on our station, on one of the stations to listen to, and they have this like little segment where they talk about songs that sound the same and what there's only 7 songs or something, the same tunes over and over, and they go through like playing songs that are they're the same from like years ago to now, and.
Was it you that brought up that ABBA is used as like torture? Some songs are used as literal.
Yeah, for the guys in Ukraine,
like, yes,
English guys that got trapped fighting for Ukraine. He was Mamma Mia was played on repeat 24 hours a day.
I mean, it's all fiction, but the fiction's getting more and more enjoyable and absurd by the minute.
But then within that, they're kind of telling us that
this music is torturous. Yeah. There is a form of mind control torture happening with the non-stop loop mode of the playlist we know as Christmas time.
You can kind of, certain songs, like the gym, for instance, you're hypnotizing yourself to trade hard. Some songs make you trade harder. You know what I mean? So you can be used in different ways to hypnotize you,
Tell me, I know that you have a little bit of a background in fitness. Tell me what has been over the years, what has been your top workout songs and why?
Do you know what? I don't know. I always go for Kanye West,
Really? Oh, yeah, Kanye. I knew he was going to make an appearance on, he had to come on the show.
That is like my
Kanye.
Workout songs. It's like Kanye song. But a lot of people like drum and bass, like getting you going faster and faster. I can't concentrate on that. I feel like I need to because I don't do a lot of cardio stuff. I don't do a lot of running. I get bored very quick.
Right.
Like,
I know, it's boring. It's really boring. Yeah.
but when I have a song on where I can, and I used to just listen to, now I listen to the words, and remember that Violent Crime song, what I talked about, I was talking about the colours falling off and stuff, and now you can hear certain things like in a few different songs, you know, where it's a message rather than.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I'm working, I'm kind of like in a meditative state, you know, I'm not like running on a running machine non-stop or anything. I'm kind of just.
Right. My favorite album, maybe on my top 5 favorite albums of all time, Graduation. It's just such a good album.
Then I've got my mushroom music, which is that Kota the Friend. I kind of like he's kind of got like
I started following him on Insta.
Relaxing. It's great for mushrooms. That music is great for mushrooms, I think.
Ooh, have you had any successful recent mushroom trips?
It's actually mushroom season here where they're growing everywhere and everyone's saying to me, go pick them, but I haven't got the knowledge to know what I'm picking.
I know.
I'd probably something poisonous for me.
Most definitely. That would be the first one I touch, would be the poison one. Oh, Rambo, speaking of, I don't know if you know, but I fell down my back stairs and I busted my tailbone. I'm out.
Oh, no.
I'm out of commission. Yeah, it's hard to walk. It's hard to do. But it was. I had this whole thing on fall. You know, like, oh, the changing of the seasons. It's fall, and then I fall down the stairs. I think I invited something into my life. Also, I think it was just a message from the universe to just slow down. Just slow down. You know, I was trying to do too many things at once, which is I am known to do. And sometimes the universe just like gives you a swift reminder of what you need to focus on. And the consequences are, you know, they're painful, but not dire. And it just teaches you to course correct in the future. Cause I needed that. Like when I remember, like I'm a couple days out of falling and I'm just like, man, you know, I'm so thankful that, I didn't actually hurt anything really other than my tailbone or nothing was, you know, falling down the stairs could be, deadly if you believe in certain Netflix documentaries. But I remember thinking like I just needed this reminder. Like everything's ultimately fine, but I needed this physical touch point reminder to really, really be on my 12 and 6, like really always look, you know, always being steady and noticing, because I had my shoes half on. I was carrying dogs' leashes. The dogs were running downstairs, and it was just like, no wonder I fell, you know. And I think that we all
slow down.
We all need to slow down and really focus on exactly what we're doing in that exact moment, and stop trying to do multiple things at once. I am always trying to do multiple things at once, and it typically.
I'm one of them that like lists. Well, I was.
Best when I used to list what
I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do that. And it's only over the last year or so I've stopped kind of doing it. I don't even think about tomorrow till tomorrow now.
I like that.
Each day as it
all
comes.
We really have is today.
All
we really have is today. And I kind of think that, you know, if we're to break down how this place works, truly how it works, I think that each day builds upon the last day, and that's all that really matters. And if you can do better in a day, like you're already on the positive way up. Like if you can just keep building on doing incremental, but then, you know, there are days that where we're like agonizing over things that we may have done. But you talked about this at the beginning. The mindset that we have now, this understanding that certain things don't matter, and we don't need to fear this and that. I don't really agonize over my decisions, over my actions, over really anything anymore, because I just move through the world in a much different way. And every touch point I have, and literally everything I do in my IRL, in my normie life, you know, even though it doesn't I'm not like telling everybody, you know, this person's a character, you know, I just literally everything I do is better. Every interaction I have is better. Other than falling down the stairs, everything I do seems to be better because of this mindset. Even falling down the stairs, because now I'm like, oh, look, it's a great lesson, you know?
Seeing the positive in it.
You gotta.
What
You
did you
got
think?
him.
I don't know much about this guy, but this Aaron Carter guy, I've got a lot of messages
Oh
about him.
my goodness.
And
What do
there's
you
a lot.
think?
Was he
Yeah.
found in the bathtub
Oh, the
again?
Whitney
Like,
Houston treatment.
yeah. And they're also
How
saying
old
he
was
was
he?
just vaccinated.
Oh, they're saying this was a vaccination thing, even
Yeah,
though he looks like a extreme methamphetamine
yeah,
connoisseur. Definitely the vax that got him. Definitely the vax. And the bathtub. You know, it's like, what's weird? Well, at least he wasn't 33 because that would have been just too much.
yeah. It would have been too obvious.
Oh, I'm seeing that apparently air canisters and medications were found in the home, which yeah, anyway, he looks like a troubled individual. You know, I don't know just I don't know I don't know how far these, because I think that there are real people that get involved in what they believe to be real Hollywood because they're on the lower level of it essentially, and there are real families involved in but the biggest stars, we've talked about this many times, the biggest stars are manufactured and everything on that next level is real, but they don't even know what's above them is a projection. And so it does support all these. So you know, this could be a case of an individual getting caught in a very, very dark and energetically poison machine called show business, which is real.
Talk about show business. That we've got that show here, the Celebrity Jungle thing, and they had that Matt
Ooh.
Hancock. So they had this Matt Hancock. Everyone was waiting for him to come in, and he didn't go in. So the health secretary guy, the main
Yep.
character at COVID over here.
Yep.
Anyway, he was as a standby, and then surprise, surprise, somebody stepped out after 24 hours in there on medical grounds. And he's going in today.
Oh, he's going in.
Yeah.
He was out, then he's in.
Yeah. All planned, you know,
Definitely
that
all
the
planned.
suspense waiting for him, because I've seen a lot on Twitter. I've waited up till 10:30 and he hasn't even gone in.
Right.
And now people are waiting, and they do a vote. So you ring up and you vote for him to do certain things.
Oh
And
my
they're already
God.
saying he can't
love
actually do them because of medical grounds. He can't do these challenges, what they're supposedly doing.
I love that this reality show in the UK has a quote unquote politician on, which shows he's just a celebrity character. Our voting,
Well, they
our
seem to
voting
have one
system
every year. They've had like Margaret
just as
Thatcher's
real.
daughter in there.
Oh,
They've had
yeah.
who else did they have in there? They've had quite a few politicians, like a tell-all kind of. They do it every
all
time.
of politics. I think all of politics is a reality
It's to
TV
make
show.
it more real, yeah.
Yeah.
It's to make the whole political family sound. There's reality. Do you know, like how many people believe that when they're watching that on TV, that's actually what's just going on, just naturally happening on TV. Like
Right.
they're not being set. We talked about last time where they're being told, right, everyone over there, go and have an argument. Do you know?
Right.
I'm gonna see, because I feel like they've made him 33-1 to win it.
Oh,
Which
to
he's
win the
definitely
whole...
not going to win it, but I think they just had to put the 33 in there with him.
Interesting. And what does he win? What does Matt Hancock win if he...
They win the king, they win the crown.
Ooh, king!
King of the jungle or queen of the jungle, they get
We were
called.
talking about king at the beginning of the episode. What were we even talking about it with?
Stephen King.
Stephen King!
And then these people usually go on then to have their own TV shows and their own... This is where they kind of make them. And then they always have like a breakdown, and the first ever one is still on the scene now. The first ever winner of it, still on the scene now. This woman,
still kind of a celeb.
She's had like breakdowns and all this, been out with every celebrity going,
and yet people still do it. People still go on. That reminds me of The Bachelor. Like those never really, 9 times out of 10, they don't end well, and people are still desperate to go on that show. Weird. Do you guys have The Bachelor? Do you guys have?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it. I've not ever. It's never been like a big thing.
I'm not gonna.
This jungle thing, it's been going on for years, and they do it again. It runs right up until Christmas. That's when it's over, just before, and it's every year, and it's one of them shows that it's just dead in the. It's just there's nothing.
There's nothing on, so you watch that. Yep. Well, That's we could. Maybe we'll post something about that in the watch party on Discord. Oh, people were talking about, speaking of things to watch. The Theranos documentary on HBO. It's not necessarily new, but it's the continuing coverage of this. Remember the Elizabeth Holmes? The Elizabeth Holmes lady. So
Oh yeah.
anyway, on Discord, there's like a new discussion about Elizabeth Holmes, and Joey posted a picture of her side by side next to Mark Zuckerberg. They're like lifeless, dead stares forward, and they look. It's templates. I mean, they look like the same person, and I just love peering down in this conversation about maybe she's potentially completely CGI. I love it. I love it. Discord's been great. If you guys aren't on Discord yet, I have some link. I'll do another link in the show notes.
There's a lot going on in there.
There's
There's
so
a
much
lot.
going on right now. There's so much going on in the Discord. That was actually in Psyops and Hoaxes on that channel, the HBO documentary, but it could have gone in the watch party. Lots of channels. Lots for basically everything. And if there's ever a channel that we need to create, let us know. Well, Rambo, this one was pretty darn good. There's so much going on. Can barely keep up, but we will do our best. All right. We'll talk soon.
Take care.